StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Hello, namaskar, namaskara, namaskaram, namaskar. My name is Pooja Divedi. Welcome to my class, The Daily Current Affairs. Those of you who are new to this channel, I would like to inform you how we work here. We formulate questions related to the current affairs that have been a part of the last 24 hours in such a manner that you will be able to understand how UPSC asks questions, meanwhile also enhancing your knowledge base and conceptual clarity, which is going to be utilized not only in the prelims examination but also in the mains examination, because of course data is important so that you can earn numbers, brownie points in your mains answer writing as well. Before I begin, I would like to inform you that whatever is being taught here will be provided through my Telegram channel, so just pay attention to whatever I am going to say here. Do not need to worry about making notes. Pooja Divedi UPSC is my Telegram channel. If you want to be connected to me for this examination, you can also talk to me on my Instagram. Moving on, these are the various events that we have to cover today. So let's begin. Last time I asked a question about the prelims. So many of you have answered it correctly. I will take your names by the end of this segment. And those of you who missed this opportunity can answer today's practice question. I will take up your names in the upcoming class. Consider the following pairs. Ports we had to match with the importance or characteristic of it. Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Port. It is India's oldest operating port. Here the key word here is operating. That means it is still in operation. If we talk about the oldest port in India, it is Lothal, and Lothal belonged to the Harappan civilization. So this is still in operation. Paradip port, its depth, the depth of it can be deepened up to any threshold. Second is going to say that this is from Odisha. And then we have Nhava Sheva or JNPT, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust. This is India's largest container handling port. So what do we have to see? We had to see that how many statements given above, how many pairs given above is or are correct. See, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Port, erstwhile known as Kolkata Port, it came under the administration of the government in 1870. Then it was the colonial government. That is why it is the oldest operating port amongst all. Okay, and it was renamed later on as Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Port. Then we have Paradip Port. Paradip Port is situated at the confluence of river Mahanadi when it makes a delta into the Bay of Bengal. And because of the presence of soft undersoil, the depth is our choice. We can excavate the soil up to any depth. Okay, then we have the JNPT, which is India's largest container handling port. Okay, so all three pairs actually are correct. The correct answer will be all three. I have asked you this question because Paradip Port has recently achieved a major milestone by clocking a record handling of 50.16 MMT cargo. This is as on August 8. And here is the Paradip Port or the Paradip Garh as you see it. Moving on, and of course it is one of the major ports in India. Who is considered as the father of it? Late Biju Patnaik, the then chief minister. Foundation stone was actually laid on 3rd January 1962 at the confluence of the river Mahanadi. Here is the Mahanadi river, and when it was making a delta with the Bay of Bengal, at the Bay of Bengal, Paradip Port is situated over here. Okay. Also, Paradip Port was the 8th major port of India as on 18th April 1966. The first major port in East Coast, commissioned after independence. So these are the many features. Then we of course have the Kolkata port and the JNPT. These are the also important other ports of India. And as you see, we have the Lothal, port of Lothal in Gujarat. This is the oldest port in India, not in operation anymore. It is a part of the Harappan civilization. With respect to the production linked incentive scheme, consider the following statements. It was launched for the first time in the year 2021. It covers 21 sectors. Due to the scheme, there has been a significant reduction in imports of raw materials in the pharma sector. So what we have to see? We have to see how many of the statements given above is or are correct. 3 schemes were approved in the year 2020 as PLIs, but proper launching was only accepted in the year 2021 for 14 sectors, and still there are 14 sectors, not 21 sectors. So first statement is correct, second is not correct. Due to the scheme, there has been a reduction in the import of raw materials for pharma industry, but not enough. We are still highly dependent on China for critical pharma products such as paracetamol, ibuprofen, vitamin B12. So still we have a long way to go. Production linked incentive scheme actually incentivizes on an incremental basis those sectors in which manufacturing capacity potential is a lot. It is a part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan only. So first correct, second incorrect, third is correct. 1 and 2, 1 and 3 will be the correct answer, 2 only will be the correct answer. The government has disbursed 2,900 crore rupees till March this year under the production linked incentive scheme, and it is going to disburse about 13,000 crore more to the eligible firms. It was launched in 2021, although 3 schemes were approved under the PLI back in 2020, but proper launching for the 14 sectors is considered from 2021 onwards. Telecommunication, white goods, textiles, manufacturing of medical services, automobiles, drones, pharma. These are the myriad sectors which are covered under it. Also, then in 2021, it had an outlay of 1.97 lakh crore rupees. Moving on. Minimum production in India we have to achieve as a result of PLI scheme. It is going to be done in the next 5 years when it comes to 500 billion US dollars. This is the aim. Since 2021, we are aiming for this. To make domestic manufacturers globally competitive and our products also globally competitive, and offer companies incentive on incremental sales from products manufactured in India. As high your sales will be for the products manufactured in India, those kind of incremental incentives will be given. Specifically, it is designed to boost domestic manufacturing for sunrise and strategic sectors, to curb cheaper imports so that our market is not a market, our India is not a market for other countries such as India, such as China, then reduce import bills, improve cost competitiveness and globally domestically manufactured goods, also enhance domestic capacity and exports. Next, consider the following pairs. Dissolution, what does it mean? Ends the tenure of the current house. That means the time of the current house is done. Then prorogation. Prorogation means what? Prorogation means the end of a session. Okay, that is prorogation. Like we have the budget session, we have the winter session, the monsoon session. So when it ends, it is prorogation. Adjournment sine die. Adjournment sine die is dismissing a sitting of the parliament for an indefinite time. We do not know then that when the house will meet again. So what do we have to see? How many pairs given above is or are correct? Recently, the both houses of the parliament have been adjourned sine die. That means we do not know that when are our parliamentarians going to meet again. Okay, so option 3, that is pair 3, is definitely correct. When it comes to dissolution, which is a very unique feature of just the Lok Sabha, as it is an impermanent house, Rajya Sabha cannot be dissolved. It means from the first sitting of the Lok Sabha till 5 years. This is the tenure of the Lok Sabha. And when that ends and the next election has to take place, that is known as dissolution. So Lok Sabha, it is specifically for that. Under Article 83, Clause 2, okay, it mentions how this particular process has to take place. Then prorogation. Prorogation means that there is the end of one session of the parliament. It could be once the monsoon session ends, it will be prorogation of the house. So all 3 are actually correct. All 3 will be the correct answer. So both the houses of the parliament were adjourned sine die recently. Dissolution of the parliament is meaning a formal end of the term of the parliament, and dissolution ends the tenure of the current house. A new house is formed after the general election. Lok Sabha is the only legislative body in India that can be dissolved. Of course, the state legislatures as well. Moving on. Prorogation means the end of a session. It implies the end of the sitting as well as the session, and not the dissolution of the house. It's very different. President can prorogue the house while in session also. Remember this. Moving on. Adjournment sine die means the sitting of the parliament has been adjourned for an indefinite time. it is done by the presiding officer of the house. That means it could be the speaker in case of the Lok Sabha and chairperson in the case of the Rajya Sabha without specifying a date for its reassembling. Moving on. The Atal Innovation Mission was launched by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Niti Aayog, Ministry of Education, ISRO. The correct answer to this question is option B, Niti Aayog. Now, Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog, in collaboration with the ISRO, is going to launch National Space Innovation Challenge for all school students across the country, in which the students of classes from 5th to 12th can participate in order to ensure that they are developing scientific temperament. Can you tell me in the comment segment which article of the Indian Constitution deals with scientific temperament, development of scientific temperament? Atal Innovation Mission was launched by Niti Aayog in order to ensure that ours as a country can develop scientific temperament. Also, it is India's flagship initiative to promote a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, to develop new programs and policies for fostering innovation, to provide not only the platform but also help these platforms to collaborate, to create awareness and create an umbrella structure to have an ecosystem of scientific innovation. It is also having a part in itself, the Atal Tinkering Labs, Atal Incubation Center, Atal New Challenge India, Mentor India Campaign, Atal Community Innovation Center, and Atal Research and Innovation for Small Enterprise Arise. Okay, moving on. With respect to the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012, which of the statements is not correct? First, it's a gender neutral act. Second, it doesn't recognize the intent to commit an offence. It provides for the evidence of the child to be recorded within a period of 30 days. It is only applicable to child survivors and adult offenders. Okay, so for this to be answered, you must know what is gender neutrality. That means the victim, the child specifically, can be either a boy or a girl, and the adult offender who is committing the offense, sexually abusing the child, could be either a man or a woman, and that makes this particular act a gender neutral act. So first is correct. It doesn't recognize the intent to commit an offense. It provides for the evidence, and this. Option C is also correct. It provides for the evidence of the child to be recorded within a period of 30 days so that fast track process can take place and the child does not have to go through mental pressure all the time. It is only applicable to child survivors and adult offenders. Yes. When there is a child offender and an adult victim or a survivor, then the Juvenile Justice Act will come into being. Okay, remember that. One more, I think viewer asked me that in case a minor has been raped by another minor, then also the Juvenile Justice Act will come into being. Okay, so D is correct, first is correct, C is also correct, D is incorrect, because not only the offense, not only the act, but if any offender wants to sexually abuse a child, the intent is to abuse sexually. And even if the act is unsuccessful, if the person hasn't been able to abuse the child, but the intent was to, then if that gets proven, then also the perpetrator can be punished. So option B is the incorrect one here. That makes it to be the correct answer. A total of 758 fast-track special courts and 412 exclusive e-POCSO courts have been established across 29 states and Union Territories of India. The Department of Justice started a centrally sponsored scheme in October 2019 in order to set up a total of 1023 fast-track special courts across the country so that children can move on. Proper punishment can be given for such aggravated crimes. Act is gender neutral, and what is it? It is victim centric, as in it ensures that the most important thing is the child's emotional welfare, physical welfare, mental welfare. Child is any person who is below the age of 18 years. It also defines different forms of sexual abuse. It can go from penetrative to non-penetrative. Sexual harassment and pornography deems a sexual assault to be aggravated under certain circumstances. Here, what kind of crimes can be aggravated. If the perpetrator or the offender is having a place of authority, it could be a member of the family, it could be a doctor, it could be a teacher. That makes this crime aggravated in nature. People who traffic children for sexual purposes are also covered under it. The POCSO Act is only applicable to child survivors and adult offenders in case two children have sexual relation, or in case a child perpetrates a sexual offense on an adult, then the Juvenile Justice Act will come into existence. Next, consider the following: Doksuri, Dora, Khanun, Santa Ana. How many of the above are not in occurrence in the Pacific Ocean? These are either typhoons, hurricanes, tropical cyclones as they are called by their region. Doksuri recently occurred in China, Taiwan, many areas in Philippines as well. So Doksuri occurred in Pacific. Dora is still occurring in the Pacific region. It is causing wildfires in Hawaii. Khanun has aggravated the situation in Korea, South Korea, Russia, Japan. So Khanun is also from Pacific. And then we have Santa Ana. It was in the Atlantic Ocean. So Pacific is with respect to Doksuri, Dora and Khanun. That is 1, 2, 3. 3 only will be the correct answer. Doksuri is the most powerful typhoon to make a landfall in China. And the closest and most powerful storm to pass near Beijing was Rita in 1972. And as you can see, this was the trajectory. Here is Taiwan, here is China of Doksuri. It created havoc, wreaked havoc in Philippines, China and Taiwan. Then we have Khanun. It was the 13th named storm of the 2023 Pacific typhoon season. It recently made a landfall in Japan, and when that happened, other regions also got impacted, and Russia is also seeing the impact of it. Then we have Hurricane Dora. It became Typhoon Dora when it crossed the international date line into the Western Pacific late Friday. Here is Typhoon Dora. Okay, it is also creating many wildfires, specifically in Hawaii. With respect to the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita 2023, consider the following statements. A police officer cannot be permitted to use handcuffs while arresting a person if he is a habitual repeat offender. That means he has become a serial offender, continues and keeps on doing criminal activities, who escaped from custody. Section 35 says no person can be arrested without prior permission of an officer not below the rank of a deputy SP in case where the offence is punishable with less than 3 years. Okay. Next, to prosecute a public servant, no sanction is required in cases including sexual offences amongst others. So what do we have to see? How many of the statements given above is or are correct? See, recently the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023, it is going to replace the IPC. Similarly, Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita is going to replace the Code of Criminal Procedure or CRPC, and the Bharatiya Sakshya Sanhita, it is going to replace the Indian Evidence Act, and we needed such overhauls. I have also covered the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita in detail. You can watch that as well. A police officer actually may be permitted to use handcuffs when arresting a habitual offender who has escaped from custody. So first statement is incorrect because here it is written cannot be. If you do not read anything carefully, you can easily fall into such traps of the UPSC examination. UPSC wants to fail you. It knows how to play psychological games from you. It is going to exploit your insecurity. That insecurity is what? Insecurity of not revising anything or not reading anything into depth. So that is why it is important for you to read something in depth whenever you are picking that article, specifically important from the perspective of this examination, and making sure that you revise it. Section 35 says that no person can be arrested without prior permission of the deputy SP, and who, of course, here the punishment should be less than 3 years. So this is full of fact. Section 35 is very important. That is why we have covered it. So section 35 here is correct. To prosecute a public servant who is charged or who is alleged to have committed a sexual offence or trafficking, etc., no government sanction is required. Other than this, certain offences, government sanction is required. First is incorrect, second is correct, third is also correct. How many are correct? Two only will be the correct answer. I've already told you this. And use of handcuffs. A police officer may be permitted to use handcuffs when they are arresting a person who is an habitual offender who has escaped from custody, first instance, or has committed an organized crime, that means is a part of a bigger criminal nexus, and terrorist act, drug related crime, illegal possession of arms, murder, rape, acid attack, counterfeit currency, human trafficking, sexual offences against children, or offences against the state. Then we have sanctions to prosecute. I have already told you that a decision for prosecution under sexual offences and trafficking, no sanction is required. But a decision to grant or reject sanction to prosecute a public servant must be reached by the government within 120 days of receiving a request for certain offences. Alright, now we have launched our batches from 11th of August, the P2I ones. If you haven't taken admission as of yet, a good news for you, we have been giving proper discount till 15th of August. And this is the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav gift to you. So whatever batch you're choosing, English or Hindi, the P2I, that means it will complete everything, prelims, mains and interview. You will use the code PDLIVE to make sure that you get this for 26,999. Similarly, for optional subjects, apart from Hindi Sahitya, which is available only in Hindi, other optional subjects are also available and you can choose any one of them. And of course, according to your needs, both English and Hindi is there. And the price is 12,999 if you use the code PDLIVE. The last date for this discount is 15th of August. Make sure you do it. Okay, now, which country is the largest source of human hair as raw material? India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China. The correct answer is option A, India. India is the largest source of it in the world. It has exported $169.23 million worth of human hair during the last fiscal. Plex Council is actively working with the industry to make wigs, extension, all this is used. Okay, the global hair extension market has reached $7.5 billion in 2021. It's predicted to reach further on. Okay, and North America is one of the most important customers of the imports, whatever we do for human hair. Now, practice question: who among the following is the largest exporter of crude steel? Make sure that you know the difference between exporter and producer. Remember that. Let me take the names of those students who have answered my last question correctly so that you can answer this question as well. Okay. So yes, C will be the correct answer. Simran, Riya has answered it correctly. Tanmegs has answered it correctly. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, speech expression. Then Tannu has answered it correctly. Namaskar. Namaskar as in to Gopesh. Then Shubham has answered it correctly. Prabhat has answered it correctly. Padmashri, Mallinath, Mandeep, Khushi, Shubhank, Abhishek, Mansi. Thank you. Conquer yourself. It's option C. Okay, let me take the names of others as well who have answered it correctly. It's the second batch of students. Yes, Rishav has answered it correctly. Okay, thank you so much for answering the last question. Answer this question as well so that I can take your names in the upcoming class. Stay updated.
StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।